Hello, everyone. Jacqueline J. Smith here of Triumph Through Tears, and welcome to our first recap of the first 6 days of the 30-day Grief Journal Challenge. I decided to do a weekly recap as I want to give you an opportunity to be able to reflect, to be able to journal in your own time, kind of gather your thoughts. So I'm going to recap the first 6 days of the 30-day Grief Journal Challenge. And if you would like to share any insights that you may have come across as you were journaling, please feel free to do so in the comments. And if you like, we can share those out with everyone else or not. There, no pressure, no anything. This is absolutely something that you can continue to keep to yourself. If you would like to share, please feel free to do so. It's absolutely a safe space. What the goal is to provide a safe space to be able to share what's on our hearts as we're walking our grief journey, because so often our grief tends to be silenced in society and no one wants to hear about our grief, and no one, or we're not allowed to express our grief in a lot of cases. I won't say no one because nothing is absolute, but in so many instances, we are shamed into holding in our grief and not sharing what's on our heart, or marginalized in terms of being told that we're grieving too long, or we're not grieving the right way, or we should be doing something different. So the purpose of the 30-day Grief Journal Challenge is to be able to allow those that would like to share what's on their heart a place to be able to do so. So often, you may have heard that journaling is a good thing to do while you're walking your grief journey, but what does that look like? And even if you're not a journaler, even if you're not someone that has gravitated toward journaling, you may find that having some prompts or having something to assist or some questions to be able to be asked to write about may go a long way in your grief journey. And trust and believe, I am by no means telling you to put your grief away, telling you that you shouldn't grieve anymore, telling you that your life is now, just because you're journaling, your life is now going to be wonderful and the grief won't surface anymore and the grief is just going to magically somehow disappear. Nothing could be further from the truth. You grieve in your own way, in your own time. And that's what we do here at Triumph Through Tears, is to allow that safe space for that to take place, for people to grieve in their own way, in their own time, and not marginalize, not judge, not shame people into grieving, because it's work, and it's hard work, and it's challenging for some on a moment by moment basis, on a day by day basis. So join with us. And so again, welcome to this week's recap of the first 6 days of the 30-day Grief Journal Challenge. So day one the prompt was, God has carried you a very long way. Relax, recharge your soul, and reflect on his blessings, even in the midst of your grief. Whatever that may look like for you. If you need to take some time to get away, to separate yourself from the day-to-day, the hustle and bustle, and go on a personal retreat. And it doesn't have to cost anything. Go to a library, go to Barnes and Noble, find a quiet space with just you and your journal. If you have your phone, some earbuds with some music, and just journal. Write out whatever it is that you may be feeling or thinking in that particular instance or that particular moment. So that's one way to relax and recharge, and a cup of tea, definitely your tea, your coffee, whatever is your beverage of choice, non-adult beverage of choice, regular beverage of choice, and reflect on God's blessings. I am so grateful. Like I said, I am so grateful to have had Chantal for the 22 years that I had with her. She wasn't expected to survive much past her birth. She weighed 1 pound, 13 and a half ounces at birth. And just to have had her for 22 years, I am ever so grateful. Do I miss her? Absolutely. I miss her every single day. But the blessing is that God is continuing to be with me and continuing to keep me and walk me through this journey each and every day. The blessing is that he has allowed the birth of so many new adventures and ventures and businesses, and he has also provided me the assignment to assist those that also may be walking a grief journey, that don't know who he is, don't know his love, don't know how to recognize his blessings. And that's part of my assignment as well. And so I am grateful for that also. Day 2 was describe a memory of your loved one that makes you laugh. So the memory of, well, there are two, but the one that I described previously was when she brought home this handwritten permission slip to go across the water. We were living in Virginia at the time. She wanted to go to a food bank across the water with some random parent that I didn't know to do this project. And so I had to call the principal and we got it all straightened out. But just the fact that she brought a handwritten permission slip to go on this trip, it wasn't going to happen. So I had to laugh at that. But the other one is that Chantal was such a, excuse me, created these science projects. And by science projects, I mean, we would go to a restaurant and Chantal would bring home leftovers, and Chantal would leave leftovers in the refrigerator for days and weeks on end until they turned all kinds of different colors. So we called them her science projects. But the other thing was that she would fight like cats and dogs with her brother. He would say, well, can I have it? You're not going to eat it. She's like, yes, I am. I'm going to eat it. I'm going to eat it. And it would still sit. And it wasn't the point that she wasn't going to eat it. She just didn't want anyone else to have it, even if she had absolutely no intentions of eating it. So those are a few things about Chantal that absolutely make me laugh. Journal challenge day 3 prompt was, what new goals have you set for yourself since beginning your grief journey? One of the goals that I set for myself was absolutely identifying and assisting as many moms as possible in managing their grief journey, especially those early days, just not having anyone to talk to. And by not having anyone to talk to, I mean, there are still some things that I have not shared with another living soul. There are internal regrets and feelings and thoughts that I've just not shared with anyone else. And so my goal is, like I said, to be able to provide that safe space to allow other moms the capacity to be able to share what's on their heart, good, bad, or indifferent, with regard to themselves, their grief journey, goals they may have, and the feelings that accompany this grief journey on a moment by moment basis, because you can have high highs and low lows in a matter of moments, in a matter of seconds, and some without warning. It can just become overwhelming all of a sudden from out of nowhere. And there are a couple of instances I can share on that as well, and I will at some point. But one of the goals also is, and I am so proud of myself that I am in the process of keeping one of the many promises that I made to Chantal, that her name would forever live and forever be known in the world. And so creating this new line of journals and planners and notebooks named Chateau de Chantal is absolutely one step toward that direction. And like I said, I'm grateful for that, but that's also one of the goals that I've set for myself. So, and it doesn't have to be anything grandiose. To be perfectly honest with you, one of your goals could be just to get out of bed every morning and brush your teeth and do some of the normal activities of daily life. Those are absolute goals. And when you accomplish them, they are absolutely to be celebrated, because again, this is work. This is hard. Grief is hard. It is. So celebrate whenever and wherever you can. Day 4. How do you request assistance or support on your grief journey? Or do you? So that's a question. Have you been able to find the capacity to ask for assistance or to accept assistance if it's offered? Or do you feel like you're being a burden if you ask for help? Valid feelings, valid emotions. But one of the things is, in some cases, you may need to try a couple of people. Everyone is not going to be able to support you in your grief and on your grief journey. And so in some cases, the sooner you recognize who those individuals are and who those individuals are not, the better off you may be. So ask a few people for assistance again, and it doesn't have to be anything major. It could be something as simple as either taking you to a grocery store or picking up some things from a grocery store or something of that nature. It doesn't have to be small, but if you request assistance in the small things, you may find those that you're able to lean on when those requests become heavier, if you will. So just think about that. And like I said, if you're feeling like you're going to be a burden if you ask people for assistance, again, that may be possible, but then you also don't give those who are genuinely there to be of support and assistance, you don't give them the opportunity to be able to do so if you don't ask for that assistance. So just something to think about. Day 5, what have you learned about yourself while on your grief journey? This is a big one for me. I learned that I am resilient and I have the capacity to be able to do what God has laid on my heart and hands to do with regard to assisting others in this grief journey. In the early days of this grief journey, I absolutely thought I was going to lose my mind. No question. I absolutely thought I was going to lose my mind. This almost 3 years later, I had no earthly idea I would be in this place. And like I said, do I miss my baby girl each and every moment of each and every day? Absolutely. Absolutely. However, there is a charge that has been placed on my life. And as I was reminded by someone recently, he chose me. And he chose me because I know, and I knew who he was, or I know who he is before this event. And so being able to rely on God and depend on him and lean on him through this journey, I'm not going to say it was easy or it is easy by any stretch of the imagination, but I know who he is and I know God's love. And it's one of my assignments to be able to share that with others. And I pray that I am manifesting that in some, even if in some small way. And then day 6, what is one thing you want the world to know about your loved one? I want the world to know that Chantal Carrie Marie Imani Warfield was a bright light. Perfect child? Absolutely not, by no stretch of the imagination, but my child. My child that I loved since before she was born, because I felt her. I felt her move in my body before she actually emerged into this world. She was an avid reader. She loved to read. She loved to read more than she loved just about anything. As a matter of fact, we would drive somewhere and we would get to our destination and we'd ask Chantal, how did we get here? Or would you know how to get back here? And she couldn't answer because her nose was in her book the entire time. She loved to read. She absolutely loved to read. And that is one of the things that so many of her friends and those that knew her commented on about her, was that you could always find Chantal with her nose in a book. And the other thing was, it had to be a book. She got, the electronic e-readers and Nooks and Kindles and things of that nature. She had to feel that paper in between her fingers as she was turning the pages. So the fact that she wanted to be a librarian, ultimately we came to that conclusion, but no surprise whatsoever, just given her love of books. And that, I think that's the primary thing. She also loved chocolate. I mean, just chocolate on chocolate on chocolate, chocolate cake with chocolate frosting, chocolate sprinkles with chocolate syrup, and chocolate ice cream, chocolate. She was a chocolate girl. Loved chocolate. Almost as much as anything else. So as I mentioned a little while ago, as far as her science projects were concerned, that would not happen as far as chocolate was concerned. Very rarely did she come home with chocolate, anything as leftovers. But if she did, those leftovers absolutely were devoured and made their way to their intended destination. They were not left over very long at all. So again, I want to thank you for joining for this week's recap of the 30-day Grief Journal Challenge. We'll be back next week, same time, with this, the recap of the next week's worth of journal prompts. And like I said, if you'd like to share, please feel free to do so. You can direct message me at Triumph Through Tears or Triumph Through Tears on Instagram, or you can send me a direct message on Facebook, or you can send me an email at info@triumphthroughstears.com or Jacqueline@triumphthroughstears.com. I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to supporting you as we move forward, not only in this grief challenge, but also on your grief journey. Take care. Be blessed. Bye now.